and content management systems. I've been using Drupal for some time now and would like to share with you some information about open source content management systems and why they've grown to be so popular. Open source content management systems over the last decade have seen a lot of use because they've made the task of managing websites very easy. So easy that it's now as simple as sending an email. This is the website of IIT Delhi. If you put in the URL iitd.ac.in on the address bar of your web browser, this is the home page that you would see. This is the index.html page, and on this page you'll see a lot of links. If you want to move to another section, you'll have to click on one of these links and that will lead you to another HTML file. So if I want to know more about the admission procedure at IIT Delhi, I'll have to click on the admissions link, which will lead to the admissions.html page, which will in turn have more links to more HTML files. So a static website is essentially a collection of interlinked HTML files. So if I'm creating a new website, let's say a static website, I'll have to start writing my HTML code from scratch. I'll have to write the HTML code for page 1, I'll have to write the HTML code for page 2, and so on up to page 20 if my basic website has 20 pages. Tomorrow I decide to expand my website. I add 4 more sections to my website. One for students, one that talks about the right to information, one for events, and one for the faculty. Let's say each of those sections have 20 more HTML files. Your website grows like a tree. It branches and sub-branches. And soon there will be so many files on your server that it becomes difficult to manage. Let's say we already built our website and we want to edit one of those pages. We have to open that page in an HTML editor. This is what typical HTML code looks like. Expecting everyone to know HTML to be able to edit this file is an unreasonable requirement. But obviously, that's the way static websites are built. So once I've made my changes, I need to upload it back to my server so that all those changes that I made locally on my own computer are reflected back on the server. So I do that by creating an FTP or SSH connection. Now, if this is a method we were all forced to use, we would. But when there's an easier way, then why not? What is that easier way? That easier way is Drupal. What is Drupal? Drupal is a content management system. It helps us organize, it helps us update, and it helps us present a website to our web audience. Drupal is also an application framework. Drupal can be used as an application itself, and it can also be extended to build new applications. Drupal is like a community plumbing system. To get water in our homes, we use a faucet and a pipeline. Drupal is like that backbone for a web server, where we set up Drupal on a server and let it do the job of maintaining our website. Drupal is powerful, it's flexible, it's reliable, it's scalable, it's extensible, it's configurable, it's secure. Drupal is exactly what we need it to be. A little bit of history about Drupal. It was started as a University of Antwerp project by 2 students, Dries and Hans, in 2000. They used it to share notes between each other. Originally, it was called drop.org. Later, the name was changed to Drupal. It was released as open source software, free and open source software, available on drupal.org. It is pronounced like the Dutch word, which basically means drop. It's 2011 now, and we are running a version 7 of Drupal. And Drupal has seen uses in all these places. Drupal can be used to create blogs, forums, you can put up a poll, you can even use it for event management. You can put up details of an event and have people register for them. The details of the event are sent to people who register, and those who register, their details are sent to the person who's organizing the event. Drupal can also be used to write collaborative books. Drupal can also be used as a search engine on your website, which has a big database of content. Drupal also has this great feature of user roles, where you actually assign roles to specific users and they have limited access to various sections of the website. Drupal also has support for clean URLs. Many websites still use garbled URLs which make no sense to humans or to search engines. With clean URLs, search engines are more likely to index your content. So how that helps is if your website uses clean URLs, it's more likely to be up on the search results than a website which doesn't use clean URLs. Why do we use Drupal? Drupal is free and open source. You can download the code on drupal.org. As with any web programming, the code you download is the code that runs live on your server. Drupal is extensible using modules. You can find a lot of modules that come built in to Drupal, but you can also find additional modules on drupal.org and other websites which you can add to your server to extend the functionality. Drupal costs as much as 2 minutes of internet access, which basically means that it's so small, it will only take a few minutes to download even on a dial-up connection. The product and the support are free. There's a great discussion forum on drupal.org, and because there are so many people using it, you can easily find a solution to any problem you're facing on Google. It's as easy as email. So what I basically mean by that is that all you need to worry about is the content. Drupal will handle the rest. Every Drupal website starts like this. After you install Drupal on your server, it will show you this basic information page, which will ask you to add content. If you work with it for a little while, it could turn into something like this. This is the website of the White House and the Obama administration. The Obama administration uses Drupal because it works for them. It's really very simple. This is another open source Linux distribution called Ubuntu that many of you may be familiar with. They too use Drupal. And of course, our own college, Acharya Narendra Dev College, we use Drupal because it was really simple for us to actually produce this website in a couple of months. We used a static HTML solution earlier, which was built by a third-party vendor. When we decided to actually do the website ourselves, we decided to use open source software as our college really supports open source in a big way. So we chose Drupal, and we decided to host it on our university servers, which runs on a LAMP stack. LAMP, which is basically Linux, Apache, MySQL. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So this is a basic Drupal website. It has no content on it as of now. In the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned that it's as easy as email. So let me demonstrate that. So just like I would log into my email address, my Gmail address or my Yahoo email address, I would put in my username and my password over here. After I log in, I add content just like I would compose an email. I click on the add content button. I can choose between the different forms of content available. I choose article over here. And then I put in a title just like I would put in the subject for my email. I say first Drupal post. Then I select the body and I add some text over there. I scroll down and hit the save button. So if I click on the home button now, I'll see that now I have some text on my home page. So that is really easy. So if I want to format this text, if I want to add some bold or italics to this text, what do I do? With HTML, I would have to use a starting HTML tag, an ending HTML tag, and for the bold and italics, I would have to have tags in between. If I want some more formatting, then there'll be some more tags, and then some more. But this is a difficult task for someone who doesn't know HTML. When I said it's as easy as email, I obviously won't expect you to write all this HTML. So what does Drupal do to fix this? Drupal has something called a WYSIWYG toolbar. WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. The WYSIWYG toolbar is something like you would see in a word processor. That little toolbar on top where you see the bold and italics button, that's the WYSIWYG toolbar. And over here, I need to, I can use the toolbar by selecting text, just like I would in a word processor. Yeah, so I select some text, make it bold, and I select some more text, make it italics. Then I select some text and add a link to it. I put in the URL andcollege.du.ac.in, and then I click on the insert button. After I click on the insert button, you'll see that Drupal has automatically added HTML for this. So if I click on disable rich text, then you can see that Drupal has written that HTML for me. I don't have to write that HTML. Drupal does it for me. So that is really simple again. With static HTML, all my content is embedded in HTML. So Drupal stores all the data in a database. It is separate from the HTML. It is database driven. It can use PostgreSQL, and with version 7 it also supports MariaDB, and MySQL of course support is always there. And how this helps is that it makes for really easy backups. It's actually in the form of a tabular format, like rows and columns, just like you're used to seeing in an Excel worksheet. It's in a very structured format. Drupal also supports a multi-author environment, where every user gets a username and password. You don't need to worry about FTP and SSH anymore. Anywhere you have internet access, you have access to Drupal. You just put in the URL into your web browser, and you can log in and upload content to Drupal. A few slides earlier I said Drupal is database driven. How this helps is that when I want to redesign my website, the content is separate and the design is separate in HTML. So if I want to redesign my website, all I need to do is make changes to my HTML, and those changes will be reflected automatically with all the content pulled in from the database. This is the base setup. Over here, if I click on appearance, I'll get a few options here. I upload some themes, and I set this as default. And if I close this, you'll see that now Drupal has a new theme. Again, if I click on appearance and I select another theme, and then set that as default, and close that, you'll see that Drupal again has another theme. So with a traditional website, to do this would be really difficult, because you would have had to write all the HTML from scratch. So Drupal again makes this very easy. I've already mentioned that Drupal is accessible everywhere. Anywhere you have a web browser and internet access, you have access to Drupal. Now, Drupal is just one of the open source content management systems available. The more popular ones are of course Drupal, Joomla and WordPress, but then there are many more open source content management systems available. We use Drupal because it's very light on the server, but then you can choose any of these solutions. Then there are options called like Moodle, which you can use for education, where you can put up content like a teacher. You can put up classroom assignments, you can put up tests, etc. So then there are plenty of options available. What you need on your server is basically Apache, MySQL and PHP to install Drupal or any one of these content management systems. We use Drupal, so to get Drupal you need to go to drupal.org. This is the setup instructions for Ubuntu. You can probably find them online. If you're used to setting up software on Ubuntu or any Linux distribution, you'll probably be used to all this. So you don't actually need to go through this. On Windows, there's this one small setup file called WAMP, which is available on a website. You can Google it. You can find it on wampserver.com. That's basically to say that you don't need Linux to work with Drupal. You can work with a Mac, you can work with Windows, you can work with any distribution. Setting up the database. All these instructions are already provided in the README. Since we are probably running short of time, I don't think I have time for a hands-on. So, yeah, you can install Drupal using the README files, which will be provided in the Drupal folder. Or once you just put Drupal into your root folder of your server, it will automatically guide you through the process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll, Kamal, can you join us and take questions that were for Pavan? So Kamal Dave is also a lawyer. So we've had three